When it comes to the international front of the pro-life movement, the United Nations plays a pivotal role. But one pro-family watchdog institute is sounding the alarm that abortion groups are aggressively trying to upend the Trump administration's pro-life agenda inside the UN. The Center for Family and Human Rights, or C-FAM, claims abortion groups are targeting Bethany Kozma, a member of the U.S. delegation who is pro-life. C-FAM cites a petition calling for Kozma's removal in part because she referred to the U.S. as a pro-life nation. We're joined now by Dr. Susan Yoshihara, Senior Vice President for Research and Director of the International Organization's Research Group at the Center for Family and Human Rights. Susan, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
You've been following this closely. Why do you call Bethany Kozma a pro-life heroine?
I call her a pro-life heroine because she went up to New York to do the nation's business. She was there to make sure that the administration's pro-life policies were carried out internationally, and she got attacked for it. And she stayed the course, which is why I think she's a heroine. She didn't back down, very graciously. She worked very hard for 2 weeks at the Commission on the Status of Women, and she made a difference. And as a result, this administration came out of it with a document that was much, much better than it could have been. And trust me, the Europeans were shocked, and that's why they did that hit piece on her in The Independent last week.
Is the U.S. nation a pro-life nation, in your opinion?
Well, you know, she didn't, it's not clear that she said that, really, but let's just stipulate that she did that. Whether she said administration or nation, it was a closed-door meeting, and that's what they said to the press. But let's say she did say that. We've had the law of the land allowing abortion for all this time, and yet look at how strong the pro-life movement is. So there she goes up to the UN, and just tells it like it is, with the UN, the administration saying we're taking all this awful term, sexual and reproductive health, because it's used constantly by UN staff and agencies to promote abortion. So you know what? We're not going to play the game anymore. We're going to take this term out. Well, they didn't like that at all. And so somebody from the delegation went to a European paper and leaked that she had said this behind closed doors. And they basically did this wonderful hit piece on her, and she came out looking like a pro-life heroine. So
that's right. And I know for those of us who are not involved in the United Nations as much as you are, it can seem intimidating.
Yeah.
Can you explain, though, why it's important for the pro-life movement to have strong representation at the UN?
Sure. You know, we are very globalized now. We all know that the world is more global. We have our iPhones. We're more in tune. We, especially as Catholics, understand this, our brothers and sisters overseas. But have we caught up as a pro-life movement? Do we know how important it is to be vigilant at the UN? Here's why we should care about the UN. First of all, the pro-life policies, for example, the Mexico City policy, don't apply at the UN. That only applies to bilateral funding, and the UN is multilateral funding. And while these are not binding legally, they are binding on places like UNICEF. Well, we give UNICEF more than $500 million every year. And if we can get out this language, you know, UNICEF has gone to say that youth need to access things like abortion without parental consent. You know, that's shocking to us, but it happens all the time. And the more pro-life we can be in these documents, the better. We're giving them in the billions of dollars. It's unaccountable, and the American people have a right to know where the money's going, and if they don't know where it's going, they have at least a right to make sure it's not going to be used on abortion.
In light of all of this, what action would you like to see from the Trump administration? How would you like to see them support the pro-life movement at the UN?
Well, I tell you, after this hit piece was done in The Independent, I think that the administration and Ambassador Haley's staff have done a pretty good job in the next round of negotiations starting Monday. They seem to be willing to now take it on board and ask, what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? So I'm hopeful that Ambassador Haley is going to make sure that New York carries out what Washington has been trying to do, and that is to make sure that we have a rock-solid pro-life policy going forward. I'd like to see them put more people like Bethany on the delegation. We need more people like her. We shouldn't be punishing her and calling for her firing. We should be shaking her hand, writing to Ambassador Green at the USAID and saying, thank you for sending her up there to New York. And please send more people like her. And State Department as well. And let's thank those people who are pro-life in this administration, because it's not easy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that perspective and making us aware of the situation going on at the UN. Dr. Susan Yoshihara, thank you.
Thank you.